I would not want to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. at any cost.
Which is what the tariffs are designed to do, right? So I feel like it just hurts us in every single way.
What I'd like to see is,
So as we celebrate Donald Trump's 2024 election victory, we're going to have a look at woke Destiny debating a guy named Tom Wheelwright. I'm not too familiar with Tom's history, but in this one, he gives Destiny a nice schooling in economic tariffs, amongst a few other things. And anytime Destiny gets schooled or owned, we're here for it. So let's go ahead and take a look.
The investment incentive, so that, for example, I mean, take Musk and Teslas. Okay, not a lot of people to make a Tesla. It's all robotics, right? And so it's innovation, it's technology. So what you want to see is, rather than having it cheap because it's cheap labor and they're in sweatshops in Vietnam and Indonesia, you want it cheap because the technology's good. That's what I would like to see. I would like to see that's why it becomes cheap, not because of cheap labor.
Sure, but I mean, at the end of the day, these are all market forces competing with each other, right? Like, at some point, machines are going to outperform humans. It just depends on how low the wages can be. But I mean, like there's weird moral values we put on it too. Like, we say, like, well, we don't want like there to be sweatshops in other countries. Well, what if you take away the sweatshops and then they go to like subsistence farming, right? Like, sweatshops aren't great in the U.S., of course, and in a lot of countries, sure, but it might be like a country's path towards industrialization and middle-class wages eventually. Like, there are roads and steps, and the country is free to negotiate as well, right? It's just one thing that I noticed when we talk about a lot of like tax and econ policy is that for some reason, other countries are doing things that somehow are so good for them and they're screwing us over. But then if we were to do those things, they become bad for us. And it makes me wonder, like, I think that deportation and tariffs, these are both great examples of this. People will say, you know, in one breath, they'll say Mexico has this unfair advantage because they have so much cheap labor. They're killing us in manufacturing. We can't allow this to happen. And then in the next breath, they'll say, we need to deport all these guys back to Mexico. And it's like, well, hold on. If they're killing us in manufacturing because of all their workers, why don't we just let them fucking come up here and then make it in the US? Like, wouldn't that be better? Like, if we really think that that's like killing us, why not just like eat all their workers and have them come up here and you know, give them path citizenship and make it here, right? Wouldn't that be better?
I mean, that's actually a supply side argument.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so I guess when I look at, like,
and that argument completely ignores all of the securities at the U.S. border, right? I mean, if these people were coming in legally and simply seeking jobs, that's one thing. But coming from multiple different countries, like all the people coming across the southern border aren't just coming from Mexico, right? So his example is already kind of off base just with that. But then you add all the other people that are coming along with it in their history, and ignoring the fact that some of these people have committed violent crime, have been a part or are members of violent gangs. They're part of, you know, terrorist cells, all of these types of things. And you know, that alone, and then when you combine it with the fact that they're not going through the procedures of what it takes to come here legally, you know, that's just completely stupid. You can't say, oh, because these people are good at manufacturing, we just need to let them in and give them all the jobs. That's ignoring the American citizens who are trying to live here that didn't flee their own country and can't and won't, right? We need to make sure that those people are taken care of, and that the jobs that these people that they would hire for these manufacturing jobs are paying properly to match, you know, the high inflation and the high grocery costs, so that these people can actually live in their own country that they were born in.
Like, the people that support like the Trump tariffs are they're just so bad. And like, if you want to subsidize your economy and you want to make things cheap as hell, and you know, you want to do that to the detriment of your own economy, because I think in a lot of ways subsidies can be good and subsidies can be really bad. I think we both agree that there are good subsidies, bad subsidies. If you want to subsidize the craziest stuff out of your economy and then we get to, you know, import that, I mean, we're just like gaining off of your crazy tax planning. And again, there's pros and cons to everything, but man, a 20% tariff across the board, that would just, like, you agree, that would be like devastating to the U.S. economy, right? Like, that would be more devastating than any $6,000 child tax credit or whatever, right?
Well, certainly more devastating than $6,000 child tax credit, baby tax credit. You know what? What's interesting is Biden, the one thing that he only kept one thing of Trump's, and that was tariffs. The only thing he kept. I just find that interesting. Well, I'm not going to make comment on it, but he did. He kept.
I'll make a comment on it. The difficulty, I think, when it comes to tariffs is it's very easy for me to tariff somebody. I can look at somebody and go, 20% tariff, screw you. But obviously, they're going to retaliate, right? Okay, well, fine, 20% tariff, screw you. To levy a tariff is easy, but to bring it down, well, now I have to negotiate some kind of deal because I can't just remove my tariff on you while you've tariffed me because now I'm getting screwed, right? So I think it's one of the reasons why the tariff stayed around is because we're already engaged in kind of an awkward trade war thing going on with China, geopolitically with Taiwan, economically, and trade-wise with chip manufacturing and everything. It's easy to levy a tariff. It's hard to take it down. So I'm not going to give Biden the same penalty for maintaining a tariff that Donald Trump laid on somebody, right? And I think that the CHIPS Act was better for bringing manufacturing here for semiconductor manufacturing than even just the tariffs, from Trump himself.
That excuse is nonsense. If an elected president can't negotiate for the betterment of Americans, then what is he there for? That's his job. Oh, it's just hard to do, so, we'll just leave them in place, even though they're bad. That's such a stupid argument, for real, dude.
Oh, I totally agree with that. I have another question for you. So Harris has proposed price controls.
Yeah, I was literally about
price controls
to
on
interrupt
groceries, price controls on rent, lots of different price controls. Historically, that has not played well in other countries. What makes you think, or what makes even the Democrats think, that that's going to work here when it hasn't worked other places?
This is my favorite thing about the Democrats. I don't care what Kamala Harris says about price controls because price controls are one of the most devastating ways that you can annihilate an economy. So I don't think that'll ever go through. I think that if Kamala said, we're going to do price controls, there would be 50 million people around here that would go, absolutely not. This is insane. Go out there and apologize and say you're not doing that shit. If Donald Trump says he's going to do 20% tariffs, you have to fall in line or he's going to annihilate your career. Right. I think that's the difference. So there are some things, not to revisit it, but the concept of unrealized capital gains taxes and wealth taxes for a large number of reasons. These are almost inconceivably difficult to levy. It's how do you evaluate? It's very, very difficult. I'm not even really concerned about it. I just don't think that an unrealized capital gains tax is ever coming because of how difficult it'll be to levy and how much pushback she would get because the Democratic Party is such a white tent party. Look at what happened to Biden when he had a disastrous debate performance. The leftist media bullied him. He got bullied internally, and then people internally bullied him externally to make him leave.
Well, and you could say the same thing about Trump's proposal to not tax Social Security. It's frankly because that money actually goes back into the Social Security fund. The income tax on Social Security goes into the Social Security fund, and that would be untenable to pull that money out. So that's an example of, and Congress has to pass that. So I would say, a lot of these, Trump has made. I think some of Trump's tax proposals are not logical.
And quite
the scary
frankly,
thing about some of Trump's stuff is that he can do a lot of it by executive action, which is the scary thing.
He can taxes, tariffs, yes, taxes no.
Taxes probably not, but the tariffs yes, and the tariffs are one of the tariffs are one of the scariest things that he's talking about, though, right?
Tariffs yes, tariffs yes.
Destiny,
Now,
you're talking point.
Do you think that an executive action like tariffs is I suspect you do, is particularly worse than just unconstitutionally just wiping out student loan debt?
No, I think unconstitutionally wiping out student loan debt would be atrocious.
Which is what Biden attempted several times.
No, I don't think so. I disagree.
He did. He was shut down by the courts.
Sure. So what you just said defeated the argument that you made, right? So the Constitution is what powers the legislature, the courts, and the executive. Biden, his statutory interpretation of the education bill that said that in times the president can forgive certain types of debt or whatever, he attempted the executive, their interpretation was, well, I can forgive this debt, and he tried it, and the Supreme Court said, we disagree with that interpretation, you can't, and then he said, oh, okay. I'll look and see what else I can do. I don't think that's violating the Constitution. The executive tried something that they thought that they had the statutory construction to do, and the court said, no, you don't have it.
He actually said, I know I know they're going to shut us down because I know this is not legal. I'm going to do it anyway because maybe I'll get away with it.
And that last point that Tom made right there is exactly correct because once the Supreme Court shot it down, Biden tried to do it anyways, right? So he pretty much completely ignored the respect and power of the Supreme Court and tried to become essentially a dictator when it came to this. And I know it's all a moot point. He's basically a shell of a president at this point. Kamala is the one that is the president essentially for the next 2 months until Donald Trump is inaugurated in January, which I can't wait. It's time for him to go ahead and start delivering those promises. I'm sure he's going to enjoy the victory today, rest for the next couple of days, because he's basically, I think I heard that he campaigned at like 900 places over the last couple years. I know he was flying to multiple places per day the last couple weeks. And so he deserves a little bit of a rest after taking this victory. But then it's time for him to get back to work. And, we should all enjoy this victory as well. But then continually hold his feet to the fire in support, but never be satisfied with the job that he's done. That's the way that we're supposed to hold our political leaders accountable. So we'll enjoy it. And Donald Trump has the House, he has the Senate, it appears. So it's time to start getting things done. So I'll say, if you are an America First type individual, you are in the right place. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and come visit me on Saturdays. I go live at 8 p.m. Eastern time every week for my podcast. It's called the Jar Openers Podcast. And we're actually going to start working in a Wednesday show as well as we expand and get better and bigger. Be on the lookout for that. And otherwise, if I don't see you there, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. And thank you for watching.